So it was decided to do a little bit about the ramchal, seeing that his your site is right now. So we'll do ramchal on parsha bechukosai from Otzos Ramchal. Ramchal asks the question, a pretty obvious question, of why does it start with Yaakov, first of all? Why does it start with Yaakov when it says in our parsha, Zacharti is bris Yaakov? Why start with Avram? Why start with Yitzchak? And then usually one would think it would say, Zacharti is bris Yaakov, that's bris Abraham, that's bris, right? Or that's bris Yaakov, Yitzchak, Avram, or Yaakov, Avram, Yitzchak, right? Or Zacharti is bris Avram, that's bris Yaakov, that's bris Yaakov, bris Avram, bris Yitzchak. What's going on here? What's this af? And even, what's this and even? I will remember the covenant with Yaakov, and even the covenant with Avram and Yitzchak. Wow, what's going on? It's very interesting language. Also, remember the land. What does it have to remember the land? I remember, what does that mean? So the Ramchal, the way he explains like this, he says like this. He says, "Maisa, we have a bechina here. Yaakov, you have to know, is the shleimus of the Avos. Even though, as it says, it's from Mekdoshim, it's from my uncle, but like it says, it's from Mekdoshim. Yaakov is only bechira Avos. He's only the ultimate because he's standing on the shoulders of Avram and Yitzchak. He could never have done it himself from the beginning. Once you have a Zeta of like Avram and a Tati like Yitzchak, you can become a Yaakov. But otherwise, it doesn't work that way, right? You don't just get there. So, but nevertheless, Lamaisa, Avram and Yitzchak had a certain their chesed and gvura, and chesed and gvura, right? Kindness, expansiveness, and limits, right? Or might, and each of those has it's easy for the other side to exploit. Very easy. Chesed, you have the bechina called Yishmael, Hashem will hear, it's all fine, whatever you do is okay, it's all from Hashem, doesn't matter, like Dustin explains. And the other way, Yitzchak is the other way, Esav, who's Mr. Asiya, you do it, it's all your thing, it's all your bechira, and when you blew it forever, there's no tshuva makes no sense. That was Esav's problem. And each of these things, Rav Nosson says, people fall because of a misunderstanding of either of these inyanim. Otherwise, you just keep going and do your best. Why don't you? So you don't because you think it's over. You gave up. You're despairing because what can you do? Either you blew it, or it doesn't matter what you do because everything's from Hashem. So either way, you're trying to get out of your responsibility, and both of those are not true, and both of them are true. Every moment, it's also from Hashem. It's also your bechira. The question is only what should you do at each time. So therefore, we want Yaakov. We want Dafka, and then even the others, because the others, like, there's a little bit of the Sitra can get a hold there, right? And the Arts Eskar, remember the land. This is the bechina that's called the Malchus. That's the Merkava. You have to remember. Yeah. To remember the bechina of this Indian of the Merkava, this connection. The Eretz Yisrael is not just a land. Eretz, Rabbeinu says that, Rabbi Nachman says that Eretz is from the Lashon of Ratzon, of desire. And famously, the Maggid and many others say this idea of like, if you really are yearning for Eretz Yisrael, you're here, and if you're not really connected, you could be here physically, and there's a big difference being here physically, as long as you're like sincerely doing what you can. Pretty much no matter what, which is pretty amazing. This is Zohar and Chazal, amazing things. But like, bottom line is that there's incredible things going on, incredible vistas opening up. So even being here, but to really access the inner level of Eretz Yisrael is not a punch to think. Of course, when Rav Nosson asked Rabbi Nachman, what do you mean? He said, Eretz Yisrael, what exactly do you mean? Eretz Yisrael is the main avodah of a Jew, is the Eretz Yisrael. What do you mean? Maybe it's allusion to something. So Rabbeinu is like, I mean the physical land and house, like get there and be there. But of course, you're supposed to be open and yearning. You're not supposed to be not open to the incredible holiness of Eretz Yisrael.
What the housing situation be like?
Get a house.
Wasn't a pasha d'zah.
A big thing. Yeah, it's true. No, but the Indian here is that you have a bechina. It's a connection. You have to use these three bechinas, these three yanim, which we all have. These three yanim connection, our connection to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We have to get to this place of and the way Rav Nosson puts it a little differently, right? He says Avram is Azamra, right? Seeing a good point. Yitzchak is Aye, searching for Hashem when you're far in the Avoda. And Yaakov is putting the two together. He said because Azamra, sometimes you're having a hard time. And looking for in front of the good points not going to shine to you. Yitzchak, well, it's over, and then that's when the Sitra Achra takes over. And you see the good part, you're like, I'm not going to move, it's all from Hashem, just forget it. It's like a kind of weird despair, right? You can do whatever you want, like Yitzchak takes over that way. That's his way, and that's his back door. And Yitzchak the same way. You're but then the minute you're like, it's all you have to access the light, the hidden light, but like you're like, I can't access anything, I blew it, it's over, it's a big test. Yaakov is having the right balance. Mm-hmm. Knowing when, knowing how, knowing what. So that's like the real balance. So we have to have all these inyanim. They have to be mischuber and connected to the malchus, which is the bechina. It's called this ratzon, like waking up, yearning for Hashem and wanting good things and not giving up. And realizing Hashem can help you do anything in the world you want. It can happen. Anything can happen. It's not you're not really constrained. A person feels constrained, but he's not constrained. He's actually not constrained. He's actually in a place where he has tremendous koach to really go to amazing places and do incredible things. And we find this many times. You need siyata d'shmaya. Hashem gives you siyata d'shmaya. You just have to work and do what you can. And yearn and try and keep trying and keep trying. Eventually you get through it. You manage it. No matter what. That's a little bit Ramchal for today on bechukosai. And one other thing that I want to say about the Ramchal is that the Ramchal's big mission, his big inyan and big mission was learning deeper things. Big mission that Zohar and where's the Zohar? I don't remember where this. Shlach maybe I don't think it's in Noach. I think it's somewhere later. I don't remember right now, but this is I can find it Be'ez Hashem, but he brings it also himself. And this Zohar says that the Tevis Noach of our generation, the Ifis Mashiach, is the Zohar and the deeper writings, and that's really because out of Aron he brings it down. And that's really what it comes down to. We want to connect to Zohar. We want to connect to deeper writings. That's what we're looking to do. That's our job. We connect to those things. Everything's fine. When we don't, it's problematic.
Is it because it's like a wake up? It wakes you up.
Yeah, it connects to your deepest parts of you somehow.
Real, makes you real.
It's very hard to explain what happens because it's not something. It doesn't make sense. It's exponential somehow. So you put in this much effort, and you get like connection, and I don't know what. Like again, this teva, you're protected. It's like it's very hard to describe what you're getting from it and why. Why should that be so? I don't know why it's so. It's just so. That's why Hashem made the world. I don't know what it is. Revealing the deepest secrets of the world. So you feel connected and vital and real and very hard to,
He was big.
That was his thing, was very much revealing the nimshal kilo. What does it have to do with me and my avoda? That's a big part with the Ramchal. There, the Gra went in his footsteps. I'm not aware of any way where the Gra argued on the Ramchal. Not that I'm an expert in either the Gra or the Ramchal, although I love the Ramchal and I try to learn a lot of Ramchal whatever way I can. But I'm not going to pretend to be like every Gra I know, like here and there, and I can talk to you about it necessarily. But I've seen some and it's beautiful and it's very profound. And especially I like to look in the bechukosai who brings down the Gra to the Maitzer and the Yitzchayim. It's very wondrous. And Be'ez Hashem, maybe if we do the Idra, we will see a lot of Gra there. We'll see. But I'm not gonna say that Kilo I'm some kind of expert. I don't think that he ever. I think he took him as a rebbe, and he very often goes in his pathway. There's a mashal nimshal. The Gra does that a lot, and the cheder there does that a lot, and that's what the Ramchal's one of his big purposes. He said he was a Gilgal Dari to come back and explain what's going on here, and he's very much. He has a tremendous amount to say, and he's very much giving us the ability to really pushing very much learning whatever you can the deeper Torah. And I'm fond to bring. I think the commander says start at 8, and the Mikdash Melech or the Pirush Nazar said no, you cannot start so young. You cannot start children young. He doesn't bring the commander. But I don't know if he was a contemporary. He was as far as Shiyid, I believe, and he wrote the Pirush Nazar. I think maybe he was in before. I'm not sure. Maybe later. I'm not exactly sure when. But he writes, he said, you can't start young men too early. Kabbalah, he said, start from Bar Mitzvah. That's what he says. Now again, I'm not necessarily recommending this. I'm just saying, whatever your mahalach is, today with all the tremendous Yishonos on every level, you could find endless things that are negative, or pulling you away from Torah, or wasting your time for Torah, disconnecting you. So the best way, for us, and that's what the Ramchal is also Adam that the Zohar was waiting for us because we're the ones who need it. They didn't really need it as much. We need it. It's deeper Torah for the biggest people, but we are desperate. We're the Mashiach. We need help. Really, it's getting worse. They're making it worse, which is again amazing. But there are finding ways to make things worse and worse. And you have to be able to be connected in a way that's intrinsic and that's from the deepest parts of yourself. That there's no way. It's it's muchashi. It's something like v'yadata hayom. should know today and put it on your heart does not mean philosophical speculation. It means knowing through learning Kabbalah. That's what the ramchal says. Learning through learning Kabbalah, deeper things. And again, that's all of Chassidus. And the Gruaz Mahalach, and all these different Mahalachim, every sefer you're basically going to run into, it's going to be paralleling these deep ideas and bringing them in one way or the other way. This way or that way or the other way. That's really what this is all about. We're trying to make Seder. One of the things that we do here, B'ez Hashem, is try to make Seder and try to explain things up to the deeper things, up to the Chassidus, up to Avos, up to the Shmaya. But like the Maisa, that's really a very big goal. Like when you learn Tzaddik, when you learn Kamana, like what's really going on, that's what's really going on. And that's when the minute you realize that there are levels and levels and levels, all these questions just go away. This question here, that question here, other question. And again, that's the story with the beautiful mashal of the Bnei Yisrael. I don't know if I told this. I remember there were two guys, they found themselves on a farm. Sound familiar? I don't know. I don't know if I told this, but there were two guys that said they found themselves on a farm, and each one separate on a different farm. And one guy is a regular guy. He's like, wow, I'm on this farm alone. I have no idea how I got here. I don't know anything, but all I know is one thing. There's like wheat, stalks of wheat here. There's like a field of wheat, and there's no food. There's materials. I can build a fire. I can deal with the wheat, but there's major work here to get some bread. I better get the bread happening. So he harvests the wheat and he starts to deal with it whatever he can. And he puts in the huge effort to make bread as quickly as he can, so he'll have food. He'll have sustenance. And he makes bread, and then he starts to think a little bit about what his deal is, making sure that he will have production of bread. Right? So then the other guy, the philosopher, wakes up, he's like, I don't understand. Like, how did I get here? I'm like, what can this mean? I'm all alone. What's it all about? Just don't, he contemplates for a while. At a certain point, he starts to feel a little bit hungry. So he explores, he sees there's no food. He's like, oh, I need food to live. So now he's in a race for time to see whether he can sort of somehow produce some kind of wafer cracker or something edible somehow so he doesn't starve. Right? So that's the mechanism. What's it all about? You have to find what gives you muzzin or what satisfies you or what deals you. You're going to do with kashas and yonim. You can deal all day. It's not real. And it's not how you live either. It's totally not how you live. You have to live. You have to treat Emunah like you treat anything else. You can say maybe it's this, maybe it's that, but you never, ever say about anything else. You don't get to like just make up new rules. Like, oh yeah, usually this is how I relate with the world, but because it's more convenient, I'll relate now only with logic. Now I'm suddenly only Mr. Logic. That's how I relate. I never do that with anything else in the world, anything else in life. It's just not I stand trust. I deal with this way, I deal with that way, and I can't really explain like where I come from, what I come, like whatever, and yeah, I just somehow. This is how it is. And it's like, it's credulous. It's credulous. It makes no sense. Why in the world would you live differently? That's Rav Nassim's point. I always bring this idea. It's a very, very essential idea about Emunah, which is that you have to treat it more like anything else. You can't treat it differently. It's, everything only logic. You don't do only logic in anything in your life. You don't use only logic for the toothpaste you use. There's no only logic for anything. Even the stupidest things, you have many cheshbonos. Many calculations, many ways to work out, and certainly important decisions. Nobody takes a job because it's all absolute and 1,000,000%. Nobody takes this. Nobody opens a business because he's got 100% of success.
Amen.
He opens a business because he wants to make money. He has these ideas and he hopes it'll work. And even if it seems to work, it doesn't mean you're going to make money. He knows 80% of business fail. He's still opened up. Why did he open up? He's open to make money. He's going to try. He hopes he'll be the exception. And really, Hashem will help. He trusts. He plans to feel why, or sometimes feels blight. Why are you wasting the seed on it? It's like, no, I hope it'll, you know what I mean? It's not even like a business, but it's 80% failure. People open it up, people trying it. He's like, no, this is all logic. What are you talking about? You don't do anything all logic. Why would you change your tune? What happened? So what happened is, again, that he wants to do Gilui Arayos, which means that he wants to have absolutely no yoke. He wants I want to do whatever I feel like doing. If I want to, I will. If not, I won't. But I want to do what I want. That's the bottom line. So that part of him is driving him to suddenly have a double standard. That's how it works. And that's not a good thing. So it's very, very insidious. We all have this snake inside, this very klipas, this behemoth gossip. And the way to deal with it is to connect to deeper Torah. You connect to deeper Torah, and there's something centering you and holding you in. Like I always say from Avelinger, right? We're learning in Shar Shamayim, and he said, we don't need any Rayas and Emunah, but the biggest cumulative evidence for Emunah is the more you learn, the deeper things that I read, all these deeper things. It's like, you cannot make this up. Like, no way. Like, you start to see it, and you're like, wow. And then you start to understand that the Torah really, if you think like the Maral says in Mitzvah Yisrael, the Torah, Rov Mitzvah Torah, you cannot do the Bin Adam L'Makom I think he says even rove, certainly many, you have no way of doing it without some kind of oral instruction because it's not telling you what to do. And it purports to be a God for everyone.
I'm sorry?
Without someone telling, without an oral Torah. It's impossible. So you have this book, it says, I am the ultimate guide for everyone. And it doesn't tell you what to do. I don't think any other book like that exists. It's not for some, ascetic sitting on a mountain somewhere. It says very clearly for everyone, you, your children, and this one, and everyone. What do you mean for everyone? How is everyone? If the book is a closed book, you can't understand how to deal with it. These mitzvahs, very many of them, you can't. Like korbanos, none of that's clear. What and when and how? What a big tikuna? It's absolutely unclear. It doesn't matter what you do. There's no details. It's like totally unclear. Tzitzis, tefillin, shofar, all these things are totally unclear. What is this? What does this mean? Like, there's no way to know without an oral Torah, and that's because you have what you see is not what you get. As Hashem Moral said, you think it's only one level? It's many layers. He said, what do you think? It's really the Rashba. I think I mentioned this before. It's like, well, what do you think? It says, the Torah says, oh yeah, you sit in the sukkah because our ancestors sat in the sukkah, right, in these booths. You think that's the only reason? So that was 7 days, you can't get out the sukkah, like, what? He's like, no, that's a reason. Even the Rashba says, it's a very old, ancient source, not exactly Kabbalistic source in an overt way. But he's like, there are other reasons. Pesach, we have the betzek on our shoulders, and it didn't become matzah, it didn't become chametz, which also the tzaddik was miraculous. So why didn't it become? They weren't working it; they were walking. It should have become chametz. Hashem took care of it. It shouldn't be. And they're walking along, and suddenly, what happens? What happens now? What happens is 7 days. You can't eat chametz. It's very serious. It's courage. What's the big deal? Okay, so you can have matzah. Have matzah and have bagels. What's the trouble? It'll remind you. It's like, no, it's not what it's about. There are deeper things. There are advances because, like the Medrash said, the only reason I understand all these deep halachas, why they're ad kedikach, it's because it represents the Yitzhahara and all these things from the Zohar. Like, that's, otherwise it's very hard to understand all the Gzeros.
Learning out of Mava.
Yes, it's very hard to understand otherwise all the Gzeros. It's not so easy to figure out what it means. So it's very profound. There's a lot of profundity here. So that's a big part of the Israel Chal. Ramchal also says the same thing. I always bring this. He's like, I think Nayin Nesach, the only reason, he's like, there are many other reasons. Many reasons behind things. When you start to chab that, so you start to understand that when you take somebody who is, as an academic, starting to analyze the Torah, he sounds stupid because that's not what it means at all. And this book is not what you see, is what you get. And if you think it is, you have a very shallow, superficial way of looking at this book. You don't even think the author of this book was as intelligent as Shakespeare. It's not just that; it's even more than that. We just spoke about Shemitah. Shemitah is the biggest raya for one of the many places we have a huge raya for Hashem. Because it was an agricultural society. I think Gemara says no field you could starve. You have to grow your own produce, or who knows what will happen. Not like today where everything's available. People have no money. People living, you'll find out.
7 year was just
nothing.
They got it.
Nothing. It's like, what are you joking? And it's like, no, don't worry. I'll make a blessing. You don't say that unless you're either mad, or you wanted this not to have any continuity, one or the other, or you're Hashem. You're Hashem, so you can be the bracha. But if there's no such thing of like these promises for the whole nation, everybody. You're not allowed to plant, and you're like, we find Chazal make zeres. Like, no, you can't. We'll uproot your shemitah plants. Well, it's like what like. How do you know you're going to be wealthy? People, you learn the Mishnah and you find out when a woman's nursing, she gets a little bit more food so she can produce milk. You start to understand how people were living. They lived on the bare minimum. They didn't have no 3 meals a day. They hardly had food. It wasn't a joke. It was serious. Someone was shining and they said, oh, he must be, he deals in chazayim or he lends ribbis. Who was it? I remember who it was. He was shining. So, he looks very healthy. How can he look so healthy? That's what people lived. There were realities, the boomers we find with their halachas and in tightness. A person who is very hungry, he smells of food, or she smells of food, and they just have to eat it. They can't fast, even Yom Kippur, or they'll die. It's like, what is this? Where do we find this? It's like, yeah, when you meet people, I forgot which Rebbe said. He said, yeah, if you fast a lot, you get it too. If you fast a lot, you need to have the food now. You're going to die otherwise. It's a pashta thing. People were just making it, so it was pretty normal. Yeah, a little less food, a little less this. You couldn't eat, you buy yourself Doritos or like chips and whatever. Here in Israel it's kosher. You buy yourself Doritos, you buy this, you buy that, and you're like stuffing it up, and you hardly feel the fast. That's not how it works. You couldn't buy anything. You were just making it. You were just trying. It's like there were no words for how they lived. We don't understand. And then you say, oh yeah, agricultural society, no problem. Don't plant. I'll make blessed. Shemitah Yovel, don't plant another year. It's like, what are you, crazy? Are you not? Like, no, I'm God. Like, I can do it. And I want you to know, it's not a problem. I can handle it. It's like, okay, I'll bless the, we never find. Chazal are pretty open. They never tell us there was any trouble. When they kept it was fine. Everything was fine. No worries, no troubles. Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's not the only place. There are a few other things. They bring also the right. It says you're supposed to go alila regel also from the border towns, the towns bordering Eretz Yisrael. Now in those years, there used to be it was before the Dark Ages. People they'd come into forays, they'd steal your property. They still the men were chayav to go up to do alila regel. The women were not. Pesach, I think they call Pesach, fine, but like Lemaisa, they weren't chayav to go. So the men were going, leaving whatever, or everyone was going and leaving, abandoning all their property, not leaving anybody there. And there's a measures, a few midrashim, like what happened exactly, what exactly caused, how did they go? And they came, of course, and either they saw animals or they saw people or whatever they saw these Hashem sent these angels and made sure they couldn't do anything. They were powerless. But that's not something you could say unless you're God. You don't get to do that. That's a crazy way. You're basically saying every 7 years you're going to commit suicide. Maybe many people. There's going to be epidemic. Go in Africa and tell people don't plant every 7 years. See what happens. That's how people were living. It's not like today you think, you have a 7-Eleven, you have Walmart, you have all these places. I don't know, I can't think of all these, whatever, Super Solid, whatever these places, these Makolos, right? All these things. You're like, hey, everything's fine. Well, okay, if you're hungry, no problem. You go to Chabad, you go to Tosaran, you get a sandwich, you get free. It's not how it was. Okay, it wasn't. The stucco was very, very hard. It was difficult. People had hard times. This is like again the big thing of the idea that the ramchal, what we're talking about, we're dealing with Lamaisa, all of these inyanim, is this realization. And this understanding that Torah is not at all what you see is what you get. And these academics, they're like kind of summarizing the pashat of what the Torah means. That is not correct. And I know people who are very valiant and they're trying very hard to try to find a way that's going to satisfy the academic understanding of the Torah on a simple level, shot level, like mamish, kipshuto mamish, and trying to say different mahalchim. And I don't know. I used to say it's completely impossible to do that. I'm not sure it's impossible. I just think it's very not compelling. But the person it's a leap of faith to believe.
Arguing with don't want to believe in the first place.
No, of course, no. But that doesn't. Even the person himself,
the
person himself is like they want to believe. He's trying to find a way, but he wants to find a way to make it intellectually palatable to other people so they can hear it. But the Maisa, I don't believe that. I don't believe it's true though. Let's put it that way. I don't think that that's true. You could say it maybe, and you could maybe fabricate a whole mahalach, but I do not believe that that's the truth. The truth is that the Torah is incomprehensible without oral law, and that to say that it was all understandable somehow is easily, demonstratively false. And the whole mahalach of what they're saying of Hashem gave it to man to do what he wanted with it, and all these different things they're trying to rationalize. The nice and the better way, the true way is the way of Dari. What Dari is saying, what the Zohar is saying, all these deeper things in Ramchal, which is that this has endless levels, and this is supporting many, many, many things. So they say, why does it say this lashon? Why does it say that lashon? Why is it that way? Well, yeah, because it's coming to support something else. That's Bekitzer. And it's something we spoke about a lot. And the Ramchal, I'm just trying to say, was a very big proponent of that. So we did a little Ramchal, now we'll see about maybe parsha.
If someone's ikar learning is pnimis, is that like a chisaron?
Yes and no. It depends. You have to at least one of the there are several conditions that the Kaf Chaim lays out for learning Sod. Now a whole bunch of them, the big people later on or great people were like, no, this is okay. You can forego this condition. You can forego that condition. I don't know of anybody who said you can forego the condition that you have to learn post-game on the day, or a person who's learning Sod has to learn post-game. You can't not learn post-game. So you have to be...
So let's say you've got a halacha seder.
You have to be well-grounded in post-game.
Could your ikar learning be made up of just
It depends on the person. Dari talks about this.
Is that a big problem? Like a lot, especially by the lit box, they would say... That you should just be learning Gemara.
I'm sorry,
period.
Dari is not
just Gemara, and maybe the cherry on top. You learn.
Dari is not popular litvich way of looking at it. He has a very clear syllabus for what to learn, and he's very straight up about if you find the Gemara is not working for you, so just skip it.
Dari says that.
Dari, if I remember right, yeah. You're not holding by it, fine, just skip it. And if you can't learn it, well, probably you don't need it because you probably learned the last lifetime.
I thought
straight up, and you're like, really? I think you have to be a gadol b'Torah. Yeah, you do. Well, sort of, but and again, you could expand your neshama. I'm not trying to nullify anything, but to say that the absolute truth is you have to pound only Gemara is not exactly true. Now, again, whether you should spend most of your time at Sod, you have to make sure it's not going to unbalance you. You have to keep it balanced. You have to keep it clear with a lot of humility. But like, it depends on the person. It's not so precious.
So you could say like one person's avoda is like pshat, and another person's avoda is.
It could be. It could be. It could be. Again, you have to have at least the balance of. That's what he says. Poskim at least. And you have to. It's it's preferable to know whatever you need to know. But I'm not so sure that you absolutely have. There are some people who want to say you have to have been like the biggest the world lambda to do Kabbalah.
No,
it's not
she
so
should say
clear.
the Mishnah about Peh.
It's not so clear. And it doesn't seem to me so clear. I know others will argue with me maybe, but okay, as far as I know it, as far as I was taught, as far as what Morgenstern does, he doesn't test. He's very, very into like every day you need to do some. So he's like kakafs lo manach tefillin. Gemara says you didn't put on tefillin on your skull. That you're not going to Lam Hashem, and some say it means most of your life. Some say it means one time b'mezid. Some say without tshuva. Some say it means there are different mahachim. What does that mean? You didn't put on tefillin. You're in trouble. Your ashes are under the feet of tzaddikim. Fine. Whatever this means, right? Bottom line is like tachlis. Whatever this means, like the Maisa, he said part of this Inyan is tefillin, also is the mochin of learning Sod. So you have to learn Sod. It's very, very important. You have to post and have a boundary. Now, I'm not saying not to learn Gemara, Adarab, but Gemara is one of the best ways connected to Hashem. Gemara, like the Rinachim brings in the Beis Aaron, is Gavriel, Michael, Rafael, Uriel. It's not Stam. But you have to see for yourself what you need, huh? Right, Gumra was bring from Mitzvah Bashul that the Aramaic. Whereas Gumra, it burns out all the bad. Yes, very good, very true. But nevertheless, you have to know for yourself. It's not so simple to say if you have limited time. Let's say, put it like this: you have limited time. Should you learn Gemara? You're Balbas. You're working. So should you learn Gemara or should you learn Sod? You'll have to see for yourself what works best for you. But if you find what I suspect, knowing you, is that like if you find that learning Sod is connecting you on a different kind of level, so learn Sod. Especially since you can find you'll be able to think about it more.
You could say these other guys too that like focus on Gemara, so they're also not. They also don't have shleimus per se. They're not.
Of course not.
So
no, the Rizal says the Rizal. Oh, what does he say? Oh boy, he's sharp. Oh my gosh. He says he's an idiot and he'll have to come back to fix it. He doesn't learn so.
Chaim Vital said Nagdama, right? Something
I think so.
That?
I think that's what he says.
He's like, you're coming. You don't
he's
learn.
A fool. He says some sharp language about it.
You're coming back
here. He said you're a fool to say that, and you'll have to come back to complete it.
Well, it depends. Wasn't that case that there was Rav went to him and said you don't have to learn Sod because you're taking this pshat.
It could be again. That's the ashik, but he did learn plenty. But he did learn plenty of Sod. It's not Sod of the Adas. He learned the Gzayer. He learned he was Drash.
Yeah, but he didn't learn the Arisod.
I didn't say it's absolute. I hear you. There are exceptions to every rule. There are exceptions. It could be it's an exception. I'm not. What does it mean Sod? Sod might be enough to learn Zohar. I don't know. I'm not sure what it means. But one way or the other way, a person turns his own self to find the way to do it. Best.
Doesn't the Rebbe bring down in like Torah 13, 14, something like that? I remember he uses some lashon about these chachamim who don't learn Sod. Calls them like.
Talmidei Chacham She'elin Yudai.
Yeah.
But he doesn't not only talking about Sod per se. He means connecting to Hashem through learning. But Enechanami. Sod is very, very important. And in the syllabus in Sikh Sorana, what to learn, one of the things he says to learn every year is Sod. In the Sikh Sorana. Yeah. Dor Kisveri. Very straightforward. So it's like, he doesn't see, no qualification. He doesn't say, well, if you're on the level. He doesn't. That's not what he says. And again, the Ramchal brings for the Magid, the people learn the Sodus of what things were about, even if they didn't do it, because the Sod will help them see where their tefillahs are going and what they're doing with this mitzvah and wake up their heart. And that works in amazing. Again, I hope we'll be able to do. I don't know if we'll do today's Shavuos, but I hope we'll be zocheh to do Shavuos. So we'll be zocheh to do Shavuos. We'll see that it's a totally different. When you go into the Shavuos, you know what you're doing with the Tikkun Shavuos, what you're doing with what Shavuos is about, and what the mikvah Shavuos is, and what the Dana Shavuos is, and what's happening, what the meal is, all these things. You'll start to understand. You have a different Shavuos. That's what I found for sure. And not to see it at all is very, very not kedai. It's very worthwhile to see it. Be'ez Hashem. So Be'ez Hashem, we'll slowly but surely Be'ez Hashem will have our chance. So I think we're done with Ramchal. We'll do it quickly with the other three.
Okay.